very excited and honored to be here all the way from India for the Global Chess Festival to talk about one of my favorite topics, biofeedback in chess. In 1990, my father actually gave me a very special gift, one of the best that I ever received in my life, a personal computer. In the same year, the Kasparov-Karpov match actually drew me closer and deeper into the game of chess. And this personal computer quickly became my favorite sparring partner. And as you can see, this pretty much influenced the rest of my life and career. I'm a software engineering manager by profession. I've been in love with chess and technology for over 30 years now. And my best chess accomplishment is winning the 2018 ACO World Amateur Chess Championship. My objective with this talk is to share learnings and inspire action around biofeedback in chess. I'll start with talking about what biofeedback is and why. And then we'll move on to my experiments and learnings with eye tracking, tracking heart rate and calories, and then finally I'll close with heart rate variability. Let's begin by talking about what biofeedback is and why is it relevant in the context of chess. Before I define biofeedback, I'd like to remind you that you can only improve what you measure. And what biofeedback helps you do is essentially use sensors to measure bodily functions that you intend to improve. It could be something as simple as your heart rate, temperature, calories, and so on. So I wondered if biofeedback could actually be used to help make chess more interesting for its audience and also help players improve with the additional information that you can get out of biofeedback. So I spoke to a series of top players, and here is what they had to say. If you look at Vishy Anand, he said it's very interesting, and you have to keep innovating to actually get your audience interested in the game or keep your audience interested in the game. Anish was particularly excited about eye tracking. Wesley So is one of the top players who's won a Fitbit watch on many occasions, including the Chess 960 World Chess Championship. And he thought it would be very interesting for the audience to see how the chess player's heart rate is affected during the game. Levon, on the other hand, he was not very keen about these measurements at all. But he was very open to the idea of everybody did it and people enjoyed it. But he did say one interesting thing. He said that he would love to use this type of information for improvement purposes. Hikaru had a very interesting perspective. He said chess is a game where it's not just about the moves, and it's very important to get the audience to understand that it's about the stress you put on your opponent. And now with biofeedback, you can actually see that stress visibly. Magnus thought the audience would probably enjoy how the chess player's heart rate is increasing, maybe when they play against him, and whatever else can be measured. He was very open to measuring that. And finally, the way Ilya puts it is very interesting. Chess matches can be really dramatic, and biofeedback information can really help the audience get deeper into the game. And it's not enough to know what the best move is anymore, like what the engines can see. It's very important for you to understand what the grandmaster is thinking or maybe even feeling. So I decided that, my hypothesis is basically that biofeedback can help demystify chess, both for the audience as well as the player. And I decided to do a series of experiments using sensors for eye tracking, heart rate and calories using a watch, and then also measure my heart rate variability using an ear clip. Let's begin with eye tracking. Okay. So in 2011, there was a very interesting experiment that was actually done on Ronaldo. Both Ronaldo and a defender were made to wear eye trackers and play with each other for about 20 minutes. What they observed after that was absolutely fascinating. They saw that while the defender was looking at the ball for 99% of the time, Ronaldo was equally looking at the ball, the defender, as well as the area surrounding him. Professional players look and seek information in very different ways. Eye tracking has been tried at top-level chess before in the Pro Chess League in 2019, and the audience and the commentators absolutely loved calling upon the eye tracking information on demand for additional insight. So the Tobii eye tracker that they used is a very simple device which basically clips onto any monitor or laptop screen, and you have an eye tracker that's available to you. And it lets the audience see what you are seeing as the streamer or the player. This is extensively used by streamers, both in YouTube and in Twitch, to show their audience what they are seeing when they are gaming. And they can show it in various different forms, like the bubble, the solid blob, a heat map, or even a spotlight. So I decided to play a series of games with eye tracking myself. And this is a position where my opponent's queen on c8 is actually looking at the pawn on h3, and I completely missed that. The red marker that you see over there is basically where my eyes are looking at. And when I play the video, and when I realized that I had missed queen takes h3, just look at my expression. So the first part of the video is a bit faster than it really is, in the interest of time. So carefully observe now what happens when I realize that the queen can take h3. This is another position where I was completely winning, with 2 pawns up, but my opponent makes a very sneaky move. He plays b4, essentially shutting out my king. I knew that there was always rook f1 check, but I didn't see bishop c1 resulting in checkmate. Again, if you see my eyes never moved past a certain place in the game. Let me play that again. Yeah. So I completely missed bishop c1 check over here. So as you can see, Ding will never know while where Hikaru is looking, but with eye tracking information, you will. So with eye tracking, the audience can see where the players are seeing during the game, and as a player, you can actually see what you did not see after the game. Let's move on to tracking heart rate and calories. If you do a simple Google search for chess, heart rate, and calories, you'll find a ton of articles, which clearly talk about why chess is such an intense sport. So I was very curious, how would chess actually affect my heart rate and my calories? So I decided to use a simple Apple Watch app that could actually beam my heart rate and calories onto my PC, and I could also get a lot of raw data that I could use to analyze. So I decided that I won't try this only with chess, but I'll also try this with a lot of other activities that are part of my day-to-day life. And the results were very interesting. But before I show you the results, I want to also mention that my baseline resting heart rate is about 65. So I started with measuring one of my most regular activities at work, official working meetings. If you see, my heart rate peaked at about 95, and I was burning about 236 calories an hour. When I did moderate yoga, my heart rate went up further. My calorie burn was very similar. My wife is a brilliant cook, and my daughter has a very sharp taste, and I'm good at neither. So cooking is a cognitively demanding, high-pressure activity for me. And as you can see, I burnt even more calories than doing moderate yoga. When I present to a large audience, my heart rate, it was very interesting to see my heart rate go up all the way to 120, and I burnt about 262 calories, and my heart rate is about 115 right now. And when I did intense yoga, it actually pushed both my heart rate and calories even further. And finally, when I worked on something with intense focus and cognitive load, you can see my calorie burn was higher than even intense yoga. And when I walked on a treadmill, my heart rate peaked at 147, and my calories peaked at about 462. When I played casual unrated chess, my heart rate was somewhere between 75 to 112. My calorie burn was between 250 to 350. But things went completely out of control when I played competitively. So this was one of the events where I actually finished second, but my heart rate peaked at 149, and I was burning more than 500 calories an hour, even more than when I was on a treadmill. Chess is indeed an intense sport. And you can see that even in between games, my heart rate never went down below 110, and my average heart rate was about 130. Fast forward 10 months, another tournament, and the story is no different. 500 calories an hour, a peak heart rate of 140. So if I put all this together, you can see that you can clearly burn a lot of calories just by thinking. And as Robert Sapolsky puts it, chess players can burn up to 6,000 calories per day, just from the physiological effects of stress and thinking. And a Netflix documentary, which is beautifully made, called Chess Explained, confirms not only this, it also says that this is more than what a top professional tennis player could burn. Why is this the case? It's basically because the brain, while it's just 2% of the body's weight, it actually consumes more than 20% of the body's energy. And that's why it's really critical for you to eat right, to keep your energy levels highly stable. Magnus, for example, back in 2016 or 17, actually switched from drinking orange juice, to chocolate and regular milk, so that he has sustained energy release during games. This is a very interesting graph of a game between Hikaru and Magnus, a chess 960 match, which actually plots the heart rate trend. As you can see over here, Hikaru's heart rate keeps going up as his position worsens, and he runs out of time. Magnus's heart rate, on the other hand, is very stable. I thought such information would be very interesting and instructive both for the players as well as for the audience. But I was also very happy to see that it's not just my heart rate that gets pushed up to 140, but a top player's heart rate can also get pushed to that extent. So why does this happen? Competition induces significant amount of pressure, stress and anxiety, and it really causes our heart rate to go up. And it's because of our evolutionary fight or flight response. So it's very, very important to learn how to build resistance to stress as well as recover from it. Mental boot camps, where you practice putting yourself through stressful situations, just like pilots go through it, or people who are in trauma care in hospitals go through it, is very important for you to build resistance to stress. And both physical as well as mental training really helps you, optimize your cognitive functions even more. Breathing, for example, really helps you relax, lower stress and anxiety, and accelerate recovery. And this, I think, is a good transition for my next section, which is around heart rate variability. And heart rate variability, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's one of the most important biomarkers that are emerging, and it can actually predict both your mental and physical health. It's a very simple concept. It's essentially the time difference between successive heartbeats. And as you can see, this time difference is actually variable, and hence the term heart rate variability. Now, it actually reflects our ability to respond and recover from stress. Higher your heart rate variability, the better your ability to recover and respond from stress. The good news is this is actually trainable just like any other muscles, and a lot of top professionals are actually starting to use it in order to improve both their training as well as actual performance. And before I talk about how to go about training your heart rate variability, I think it's important to understand that the heart-brain connection is bidirectional. Heart signals, which are almost 90%, we have always been taught that it's the brain that controls the heart. It's actually the other way around. Heart signals are 90% higher than signals from the brain to the heart. And these signals have a significant impact on functions like focus, problem solving, and decision making. Absolutely critical skills for chess. And one of the other important things to remember is that when you actually have positive emotions, these heart signals are very coherent between the heart and the brain, which enable higher cognitive functions. So HRV training is a very simple concept. It's a combination of resonance breathing, where you exhale a bit longer than you inhale, and visualize positive emotions so that you can optimize your cognitive function. So I decided I'm going to try some HRV training myself, and I practice this every single day for about 10 minutes per day, throughout the month of August. And as you can see, both my HRV training as well as my waking HRV went up. And multiple areas in my chest actually showed improvement during the same time frame. And these are areas where my nervous system had to be balanced, whether I was in a winning position or I was in a difficult situation where my resourcefulness were important. So my big question is, 10 years as world number one, is Magnus Carlsen, is the big differentiator for Magnus Carlsen higher heart rate variability? So I'd like to leave you with a few noteworthy technologies. If you have an iPhone, you can convert it into an eye tracker using a simple app. Philips has very interesting technology which can actually measure your heart rate and breathing rate using any webcam. HRV used to require an ECG. Now you can simply use a smart ring, a smartphone, or any device like a specialized device to measure your heart rate, like the inner balance that you see here. And if you wear a watch like the Fitbit watch when you're sleeping, you can actually get very detailed sleep metrics which you can now connect to your chest performance if you would like. And one of the most important recent trends that's emerging is called emotion AI, and it helps you gain emotion insights very, very accurately from your biofeedback, and you cannot manipulate this. So consumer biofeedback is in its infancy, but it's actually growing rapidly. It's very important that we invest in this early. Just look at the last 5 years, how far smart watches have come as an example. Just imagine 5 to 10 years from now where these watches would go. So eye, heart rate, and calorie tracking could actually open big new doors for the game of chess, and HRV, I think, is a big differentiator. So I'd like to leave you with 3 ideas. One is integrate eye tracking and heart rate tracking on online platforms for audience as well as players, both for entertainment and improvement purposes. Eye tracking and heart rate tracking can also be leveraged for improving anti-cheating algorithms further. And you can actually combine both your biofeedback analytics with your chess analytics to make your entire analytics for the game much more comprehensive. So I would leave you with this question: is biofeedback a supplement or even the breakthrough that chess requires in the next decade? And I would finally like to thank every one of these people who patiently looked at my presentation, gave me a lot of valuable feedback, asked me a lot of difficult questions to refine my slides. And I would like to particularly thank Judit for this wonderful opportunity to talk with all of you about my favorite topic, biofeedback in chess. Thank you.